Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode in this tributary series to the River Tweed. And a big welcome back to all my regular viewers, and a warm welcome to any new viewers here for the first time. Today we are in Galashiels, and we're looking at Gala Water. The confluence of the river with the River Tweed is there just behind me. Gala Water is 21 miles long, with its source 5 miles to the south of Gore Bridge. It appears at the side of the busy A7 at Falla Hill as a tiny trickle. Its confluence with the Tweed is at Galashiels, as I've just said, and you can see that there behind me. The word Gala is certainly ancient, and either originating in the Scots Gaelic language or either the Brittonic language or the much older Cumbric language of the Selkirk tribes. The translations available vary depending on which of these you choose to look at, ranging from a gallows to hatred or a call. However, I'm not sure if any of those is correct, and if anyone knows the answer to that, then please write in and share that knowledge with us. For the next 6 miles, Gala Water remains a trickle, barely visible at times, until it is met with a small river called Ettrick Water. The river begins to weave its way south, twisting underneath the Tweed bank to Edinburgh railway line on numerous occasions. On its west bank is the old stage road, and the east bank is the A7. Eventually, Gala Water passes a village known as Fountain Hall, which originated due to it being a staging post on stagecoach routes heading south from Edinburgh. Midway between Fountain Hall and the next settlement of Stow lies an area known as Clachan of Torwoodlee. This was the last place to speak the original language of the borders, Cumbric, spoken by the Selkirk tribes. The Cumbric language was replaced by English from the late 1200s onwards during the conflicts that took place between England and Scotland. Stow lies on the east bank of Gala Water, midway along the length of its course. Stow is an old English name meaning holy place. So it will not surprise you to learn that there has been a kirk here since the 600s, meaning it would have been established by the monks of Lindisfarne, possibly even Cuthbert himself. The settlement here was formerly known as Stow of Weedale. The Weedale part means Shrine Valley, indicating how important it was in the area. A mile south of the town is Our Lady's Well, which is one of the oldest Christian sites in southern Scotland, dating back to the late Roman period, 200 years prior to St. Cuthbert. It's not easy to find and there's no place to park a car. I had to park near to where I thought it was and then fly the drone to actually see where the well was situated. A large rock exists nearby, supposedly bearing the imprint of the foot of the Virgin Mary. However, I wasn't able to find that particular item. The site was destroyed during the Reformation years. It was restored for farming purposes in 1863 and then fully restored by Stow 2000 as a Millennium project. St Mary's Kirk in the village was built in 1873 and opened for worship 3 years later. There were former churches prior to this one lying 100 metres to the north. It was decided by the local authorities that a new site was needed for St Mary's Kirk. The present kirk is close to Gala Water and proudly displaying a 43-metre clock tower. Immediately opposite is another amazing piece of architecture, the Pack Horse Bridge, spanning the river with a single stone arch and built in 1650. It's quite clear that this bridge was not intended for a wheeled vehicle, cart or otherwise. It's purely for walking over and pack horses. The approach from the Stow side has an incline, but on the other side it steps down onto the roadway that would have progressed from there. In 1848, the Borders Railway was built between Galashiels and Edinburgh. A station was installed at Stow, which served the area well until its closure in 1969 as part of the Beeching Cuts. The line and the station reopened in 2015 and connects Tweed Bank and Edinburgh, run by ScotRail. Between Stow and the next major settlement of Galashiels are two Iron Age brocks. Brocks are particular to Scotland and are round dry stone towers used as fortifications. They were constructed with an outer and inner wall with a cavity between, and vary in diameter from 5 metres to 15 metres. The first of these two brocks is just south of Stow, situated on a hill known as Bow Hill Castle. Only the ruins of the brock are visible today, but the original structure had walls 4 metres thick and 10 metres in diameter. There is an access road which belongs to the forestry, as they have a wind farm on the top of the hill. It is accessible for walking. It says on the sign that there are no access to unauthorised vehicles. I chose not to take my car up there and instead relied on the drone to access the brock on the top of the hill. But as you can see from the footage, you get an amazing view of the Gala Water valley and the river beneath. The second brock is Torwoodlee brock, just north of Galashiels itself. Again, situated on a hill, from the air you can clearly see the foundations of the double-skinned walls. Very close to this second block is Torwoodlee Tower. In 1501, a lease, or a tack as it's known, was taken on the land here by a William Hopringill, and a tower was built. William was killed at the Battle of Flodden, and his son George succeeds him and becomes the outright owner of the lands here. In 1568, the tower is destroyed in a feud with the Elliot and Armstrong clans. They were notorious reivers. George was murdered and over £1,000 taken in money and valuables, worth around £500,000 today. The Armstrongs and Elliots went unpunished. In 1601, George, the fourth Laird of Torwoodlee, rebuilt the tower, and those are the ruins that are visible today. He was able to instigate a belated prosecution of the Elliots and the Armstrongs in 1624, when George was made Sheriff of Selkirkshire. The Hopringill family became the Pringles. The name became shortened, and the Pringle family fell out of favour with the ruling parties by the late 1600s, and the tower was abandoned as they fled to Holland. The land was confiscated by the Crown, though it was returned to them in 1690 after they fell back into favour. The Pringles abandoned the tower when the woolen industry came to the borders. Instead, they built a large mansion house nearer to Galashiels, where they still live today. From the close proximity of Torwoodlee Tower, Gala Water enters the border town of Galashiels. Galashiels is situated exactly in the centre of the borders and provided an important hub for the woolen industry and all that followed. The town today occupies both banks of the river for 2 miles, flanked by steep-sided hills. I've already spoken about the first part of the town's name at the beginning of this programme, but the second part of the name, Shiels, comes from an old Anglo-Saxon word, shells, which in turn is derived from an Old Norse word, skjold, meaning a shelter. These shields or huts formed the original settlement at the west end of the town. It was totally demolished in 1814. It appears in charters as far back as the 1300s, and there appears to have been a hunting lodge for royal use here. The Peel Tower stood where Church Street and Glebe Place is today. The town's emblem, engraved with the words "Sewer Plums," refers to an incident which took place in 1337. When Edward III's invading army stopped to rest in Galashiels, some soldiers were out picking wild plums in a local orchard when they were discovered by the local inhabitants. The English soldiers were slaughtered, and since then the people of Galashiels are known as the Sewer Plumes, referring to the sour end of the fruit pickers. The English were chased to an area known today as the Englishman's Syke, on the opposite bank of the Tweed to Abbotsford House. Apparently the river ran red with their blood for 3 days. Surrounded by the modern townscape is Old Gala House, which began as a peel tower in 1457 and belonged to the Pringles of Torwoodlee. It is thought it stands on the site of a 15th century castle built for the Earl of Douglas after the Pringles relinquished their ownership and it became the property of the Scots of Selkirkshire. During the 17th and 18th centuries, it was greatly extended and took the form we see today. In 1985, the building was acquired by the Scottish Borders Council and today is a venue for various public uses. From the 1700s onward, Galashiels became the main hub in the Borders for the wool and textile industries. Much of that mill history can still be seen today, with mill buildings converted for office and residential use. There are countless streets that would have housed the mill workforce and other more grand-looking houses for the mill owners. Many other associated industries grew around the mills, such as dyeing of cloth, tailoring and fashion design, as well as the engineering manufacture providing the machinery to the woolen industry. And Galashiels provided a central hub for all of that. Many fine buildings were erected during those years and still standing, though not all are used for their intended purpose today. A brand new structure in the centre of town was purpose-built to house the Great Tapestry of Scotland. The Tapestry charts the entire history of Scotland from millions of years ago up until 2013. It was stitched by 1,000 people using 300 miles of wool on 165 linen panels. It was the idea of Andrew Crummy, inspired by an idea put forward by the author Alexander McCall Smith. He had seen the tapestry depicting the Battle of Prestonpans woven by Helen Crummy. One of the museum's guides, Valerie, will explain more.
Hi, hello. The Great Tapestry of Scotland is the idea of the writer Alexander McCall Smith. After seeing the Prestonpan tapestry, he was inspired and decided, why don't we do one about the whole of the history of Scotland. So he contacted the designer, Andrew Crummy, and the head stitcher, Dory. And they already had a core of 100 people to begin with. And the historian Alistair Moffat did all the narrative. And beginning from about 60 panels, it went to 160 panels that we have here. Actually, it's 165 individual panels because some panels have been combined together. The tapestry is only 11 years old. It's here to stay. We are very proud of this in Galashiels. And we host it here, but we also have temporary exhibitions downstairs. So the way the tapestry has been laid out here in this new building, specifically built for the tapestry, it's starting just at the panel here, welcome panel, and then we go in and out of 7 sections. All the panels are beautiful. It's really difficult to choose and pick one because they are actually superb. We do provide some magnifying glasses to have a closer look at the embroidery because it's actually an embroidery and technically it's not a tapestry. And they are absolutely amazing, like I said. They all have little secrets. There is the history, but there's also the little stories and the beautiful, beautiful craft. The tapestry is not on the glass yet, so you can really pick up the beautiful embroidery, the depth and the colors are superb. So to give you an idea of how many people contributed to the Great Tapestry of Scotland, just look on the wall here and you will see the threads. Now, designed by Andrew Cromie, this beautiful sculpture here shows all different colors of threads, and within the threads you can see the names, and that's 1,000 people all together. At the very back comes out the navy thread here and runs underneath our feet and goes out of the Tapestry building and runs along the pedestrian street here. We have a lovely little pedestrian street. We have a market once a month as well, and the stonework here is there to reflect the embroidery.
Many thanks to Valerie and the museum for allowing us to film in there today and show you all the splendour of that tapestry. Today, Galashiels is a busy border town with sprawling industrial estates, 2 superstores, along with many other supermarkets and independent traders.
That was the quickest Ruth's moved.
965 thanks.
Fancying something different.
965 thanks.
I've got a car.
The population is around 13,000. Some commute to Edinburgh, but most work in the town. Now, I've mentioned many times in past programmes about the importance of common riding in these border towns. And it's a tradition that dates back to the 13th and 14th centuries during the continual land border wars, both with England but also against other clans and families. It was a border country custom to plunder and thieve cattle, known as reaving, an ancient word for stealing, and commonplace amongst the major border families. In these lawless and battle-strewn times, it became the practice of the day for the local laird to appoint a leading townsperson, who would then ride the borough's boundaries or marches to protect their common lands and prevent encroachment by neighbouring boroughs and their peoples. Long after they ceased to be essential, the ridings continued in commemoration of local legend and history. They are devoted to pageantry, singing, and unique traditions centred around equestrian events. Today, common riding celebrate each border town's history and tradition during a period spanning May through to September. Ride-outs now involve hundreds of horses, often ridden in costume, to evoke a passion worthy of the reivers of old. Each community often has a different name for their nominated leader or principal. In Biggar and Hoyk, the name is a cornet. Peebles have a cornet and a cornet lass. In Coldstream, it's a Coldstreamer. In Kelso, it's a Kelsey laddie. In Melrose, the name is a Melrosian. Selkirk has a standard bearer, and Innerleithen has a standard bearer and lass. West Linton has a whipman and lass, and here in Galashiels it's the brolad and brolass that carry the honours. Apart from the riding, there is a celebration of the Sewer Plumes incident. Other border towns focus on whatever historical event affected their town. Galashiels remains an important hub town for the borders, connecting the routes from east to west with those running north to south. Gala Water itself passes through the town, mostly following its own course, only occasionally passing through engineered channels constructed for the mills of yesteryear. Taking one final turn, the river meets its destination with the imposing Tweed. Well, that's all, folks, for this particular episode. If you've enjoyed it, then please give it a like, a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already done that. Keep supporting the channel in whatever way that you can. Those of you who wish to support the channel financially, you can make a small donation by going to that PayPal link, the blue link at the top of my homepage, and just donate £1 or £2. That all helps the channel. The travelling costs have to be covered. Entry to all these amazing places that I'm showing you, that all costs money because I don't get in for free. So again, those of you who wish to do that, that is gratefully received and accepted. You can support the channel in other ways, of course, as I've been saying at the end of all of these episodes now. If you just encourage one other person to watch the video by sending the link, the actual video link to one friend or one family member and get them to watch it. Encourage them to subscribe. Those both help the channel to grow as well. And the other thing that you can do is watch the episode right to the very end, till the last title's gone up at the end in the end credits and the last bar of the music is faded away. That is when YouTube record it as a view. If you switch off before that, it doesn't get recorded as a view, and that obviously doesn't help the channel. So with all of that said, though, I'll wish you all the very best that health has to offer you, and I will see you all in the next episode very soon. But for now, it's goodbye.